We begin with breaking news this evening. Edward Tucker, the sheriff's deputy who's been on the run since Tuesday night when he escaped from a patrol car, has now been rearrested.
Yeah, we don't know much about that arrest, but we do know he was taken into custody a little more than 30 minutes ago in the 700 block of Arvin Street, which is in the Oildale area by Norris Road and Airport Drive, and really not too far away from the sheriff's department. For more now, let's turn to Eyewitness News reporter Jose Gaspar, who is live there at the sheriff's headquarters. Jose?
Rochelle, that's right. We're here at the sheriff's headquarters at Norris Street with Sheriff Danny Youngblood. Now, details aren't fully in yet, so that's why the sheriff is here to join us to tell us about that. Sheriff Youngblood, tell us how he was caught.
Well, we've been working this since the moment that he got away. And, of course, we use investigative techniques, we use informants, we use all kinds of mechanisms to try and find someone. In this particular case, all day today, we've been tracking some leads, working with some people that were giving us information, and at 3:20 we located him in the 700 block of Arvin, hiding in a garage.
Did he offer any resistance?
No, he did not. He put up no resistance, and we're just glad that he's in custody and nobody's hurt.
Sheriff, as you know...
Anything in his possession?
I have no information on anything that he might have had.
Sheriff, as you know, on Saturday night he was involved in an incident. Your deputies discovered a lot of weapons, drugs, and then the other night, almost same scenario. He was discovered again in a park. A lot of weapons were found, drugs were found again. And being that his state of mind was somewhat questionable, what was your greatest fear?
Well, obviously, people that are under the influence of methamphetamine are dangerous. People that are under the influence and have guns are much more dangerous. And my big concern is that we didn't get somebody hurt because he was able to escape from us. That's something we would have to live with. And we have hit this extremely hard. It's been the #1 priority, of course. And just thank God he's in custody. He's not hurt. Nobody in our community is hurt. And now we will find out how this happened and ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Was he under the influence when you guys took him into custody right now?
We're in the process right now of determining whether he is under the influence or whether he is not.
Where is he right now?
He's in the sheriff's facility here.
Does it appear that he might have had any help in this incident since he was hiding in somebody's garage?
Well, we certainly think that there's a possibility, and we'll investigate that and see where it lands.
How did you guys find him? What led you to that home?
Well, we don't give our investigative techniques up, and that's for obvious reasons. But I can tell you that there's been a very large number of officers on this case today following leads so we could find him.
As you know, Sheriff, there was a lot of speculation, I'm sure you heard it too, that possibly he escaped because there was, quote, as some people have put it, an inside job. How would you address that?
I think that's absurd, and I'll be honest with you, I've had nobody say that by email, by phone, and I think when you look at the video, it's pretty obvious that this was not intentional. This was not a deputy sheriff who's a friend of ours. This was a suspect who's under the influence of methamphetamine and was dangerous. And I think the minute that happened, the whole dynamic changed. We weren't chasing deputy sheriff, we were chasing a suspect.
How do you make sure that right now that he is in your custody, he does not get out of your custody again?
That's almost comical. He's not getting out of our custody. He's he'll be transported to the jail here in a short period of time, and I promise you, he will arrive at the jail, and I promise you, he will get through those doors.
Sheriff, so what's the next step now? You mentioned that there's an internal investigation. How long will that take approximately, and what will happen?
Well, the internal investigation will determine whether the officer or officers violated any policies by their actions and their behavior, and then if we find that that's true, then there'll be consequences, and if it's not, then there won't be, and that's about all I can say about an internal or an administrative investigation.
Sheriff, is there anything else you want the public to know about this whole incident?
Well, of course, we're embarrassed when something like this happens, but you know, we're humans. We hire from the human race, and our whole job is to protect the public. And when this happens, we have to take a step back and realize that we can do this better, and we got to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
All right.
Has he said anything to you when the?
No, he's not talking to us. No.
Perfect.
Sheriff Danny Youngblood, sir. Thanks again. All right. So that's the news that here from the Kern County Sheriff's Department. Roughly at about 3:20, less than an hour ago, Edward Tucker, the deputy who was wanted for a couple of, after being arrested a couple of times, including for one incident in where he allegedly pointed a gun at some children, has been taken into custody less than a mile away here from Sheriff's Headquarters on Norris Road. It happened over in the 700 block of Arvin Street in Oildale. As soon as we get more information, of course, we'll let you know. For now, Jose Gaspar reporting live from the Sheriff's Department. Now back to you in the studio.
All right, Jose, we'll stay in touch with you out there. Even with Deputy Tucker now in custody, still a lot of questions tonight about how he escaped in the first place.
Yeah, today, earlier, Sheriff Donnie Youngblood addressed those questions and released video that we've been watching of that escape. Eyewitness News reporter Adam Herbitz has more on that part of the story. Adam?
Yeah, Rochelle, this is something that never should have happened. Whether he's been arrested today or not, this is where it all happened. And from what we understand, he's already here at the jail. You can see there are deputies just outside. So clearly that's not something we saw in the video the first time. That's one extra precaution they're taking. And when Sheriff Donnie Youngblood saw this video, it wasn't until this morning that he actually got a good look at it. But he also gave us some information about what he saw, and he told us how Deputy Tucker was able to pull this off. This video is hard to believe. Deputy Brandon Ruth and Salvador Arona are just a parking spot away when the person they just arrested decides to walk away from them.
From a law enforcement standpoint, you want to scream at the video, wake up, look to your right.
Sheriff Donnie Youngblood is embarrassed, especially because there are so many things that went wrong. Before it even got to this point, Edward Tucker had to break out of his handcuffs and the patrol car.
You can't make this stuff up. You just can't.
According to Youngblood, the handcuffs were made longer than usual because Tucker complained about a back problem.
And I don't know this, but I suspect that he may have been equipped with a handcuff key.
Then the sheriff's deputies rolled down the window because Tucker told them he might have to throw up. Youngblood says that's common, but
you stand at the window and watch your suspect.
How far was the window rolled down?
Far enough for him to reach his arms out and unlock the door.
Then there's just the ignorance factor. How do you not see or hear him?
Of course, we should have done something differently.
Especially because he's wearing flip-flops in an echoey parking structure.
This is not a deputy sheriff that we're chasing. This is a prankster.
The deputies were too preoccupied with a computer. I asked Youngblood if the department thinks it's an inside job, especially since Deputy Tucker was in the force for almost 19 years.
It is a great question, and it's not something that we've ignored.
Still, at least for now, neither of the arresting deputies are facing any sort of punishment, just an investigation.
Things happen, and, you know, we're all human beings.
Well, you saw the video, you saw Deputy Tucker running up that garage, running up the ramp, and you could tell there were definitely not deputies standing outside like there are right now. So clearly, some extra precautions being taken right now. Now, there's also a lot more to this story about why this should have never happened in the first place. Some people think this guy should have never even been on the force in the first place, and that's something that the Kern County Sheriff's Office is still going to have to defend themselves on for at least a little while. But for now, we're live at the jail. Adam Herbetz, Eyewitness News. Dave, Rochelle, we'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, you're right, Adam. As this case unfolded today, we also asked the Sheriff's Department about several times that Tucker was arrested before he was hired here in Kern County. Eyewitness News reporter Carol Ferguson has that part of our coverage. Carol?
As we first reported, we found Tucker had been arrested in Ventura County at least twice. With that in his past, how and why was he hired?
The target of a massive search is a man who worked on the other side of the law for nearly 19 years. But we discovered Edward Tucker was arrested in Ventura County in 1991 for domestic violence and in 1988 for possession, manufacture, or sale of dangerous weapons and domestic violence. How could he be hired as a deputy? Sheriff Donnie Youngblood says a completely different crew was working backgrounds then and now.
It would be a little bit unfair to ask someone back in personnel, why did we hire him 19 years ago, because they can't give me the answer.
But is it against policy to hire someone with arrests like that? The sheriff says no.
If that were the case, our pool to hire would be very, very small, because some people get arrested for minor offenses when they're 15, 16 years old.
Tucker would have been about 20 years old at the time of one arrest in Ventura. No charges were filed in these cases. On Bell Terrace this Saturday, Tucker allegedly pointed a gun at some kids. The sheriff calls that not normal. In the park Tuesday, in his car, weapons and explosive materials found. It was a fellow officer who called.
It was a retired sheriff's deputy that he was acquainted with, who had received some information that Mr. Tucker had been sending some texts that were with suicidal comments.
And in the car, drugs, and Tucker was under the influence. Youngblood says he has no indication he used drugs on duty, and
I have no indication of any case that he might have been involved in that's compromised.
now the sheriff says Tucker's behavior shows mental illness and the drug use.
And we really do want to get him into custody, get him the help that he needs, and make sure that nobody in our community is hurt.
And that is just what they ended up managing to accomplish this afternoon. Again, Tucker was captured late this afternoon, and we will continue to cover the arrest of this deputy. Tune in to us after the game here and on KBFX at 10 and 11 here on KBAK. You can also go get up-to-the-minute updates on our website, also bakersfieldnow.com, Facebook, and Twitter pages. We'll be right back.